Late Cretaceous, Patagonia. While the northern hemisphere trembled under the crushing bite of tyrannosaurids, the south gave rise to a radically different evolutionary masterclass. This is Carnotaurus sastrei, a hyper-specialized coastal sprinter whose bizarre anatomy defies conventional theropod biomechanics. And its story begins where the forest ends. Forget everything you know about theropod hunting. This is the late Cretaceous cheetah, built for one thing: pure speed. Fueled by a massive caudofemoralis muscle, this 6-ton predator could sprint at an astonishing 35 miles per hour. For 70 million years, the shifting sands of Patagonia kept this apex predator hidden from the world, entombed in a frozen snapshot of time, waiting for science to finally breach the stone. In the sun-baked badlands of Patagonia, a skeleton lay fully exposed for millions of years. Ribs, spine, and that distinctive horned skull, resting on its side in the sand. Now, in a modern laboratory, paleontologists carefully lift and assemble the bones. Piece by piece, this extraordinary predator is coming back to life. As we zoom in on the flank, observe the spectacular skin imprint, discovered by José Bonaparte. It remains the first definitive proof of a completely featherless, scaly integument. Note the dense mosaic of tiny scales, rising into parallel rows of large, heavily keeled, cone-shaped nodules. The forelimbs of Carnotaurus were vestigial, completely locked backwards, with fused clawless digits, a total evolutionary atrophy. The tail of Carnotaurus. It was a rigid, unyielding weapon. Interlocking horizontal ribs anchored a massive caudofemoralis muscle, completely transforming this unique predator into a high-speed, straight-line sprinter. The skull of Carnotaurus functioned as a specialized weapon. Biomechanical models reveal a weak crushing bite, but an incredibly powerful neck. It operated like a precision hatchet, delivering rapid downward strikes to slice flesh rather than crush bone. The blunt frontal horns of Carnotaurus were engineered for absolute impact, a dramatic prehistoric ritual for territorial dominance. 70 million years ago, Carnotaurus ruled the semi-arid floodplains of late Cretaceous Patagonia. This isolated island continent became the stage for one of the most radical evolutionary experiments in history. The La Colonia Formation, a dynamic world of estuaries where tidal marshes bordered dense Araucaria forests. Here, life flourished at every level, from primitive birds in the sky to river-dwelling plesiosaurs. And within this unique environment, this horned predator reigned as the absolute apex master of the land. The hunting strategy of Carnotaurus differed drastically from the prolonged chases of other large theropods. His poor binocular vision was heavily compensated by a phenomenal sense of smell and incredible explosive power. Replacing a crushing bite with a hatchet-like strike, he delivered a devastating downward blow with his upper jaw. At full speed, high cranial kinesis allowed him to swallow massive chunks of meat whole, without wasting energy on heavy chewing. To sustain such a high-speed lifestyle, his pelvic girdle underwent extreme reduction, stripping away all excess bone weight. At a microscopic level, his osteohistology reveals a dense trabecular matrix. A high concentration of Haversian canals proves an incredibly rapid metabolism. Porous, yet reinforced, the bones of Carnotaurus were a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, structurally optimized to withstand immense mechanical stress. The same engineering principle applies to his skull, where massive fenestrae reduced head weight to a minimum. while maintaining structural strength for impact. Using phylogenetic bracketing, scientists bracket Carnotaurus between his closest living relatives, crocodilians and birds, while fossilized eumelanosomes allow us to accurately reconstruct the true coloration of his ancient skin. This digital rendering unlocks the hidden palate of the Mesozoic, transforming bare bones into a camouflaged, scaly predator, perfectly adapted to the ancient Patagonian landscape. CT scans revealed another hidden sensory system. A highly branched trigeminal nerve transformed his snout into a living sonar, capable of detecting subtle vibrations in the dark. Finally, his jaws concealed a rare feature for reptiles, a heterodont dentition. The front teeth anchored the strike, while the side teeth acted as razor-sharp surgical blades. By avoiding dense forests, this coastal sprinter completely dominated the open sandbars and river floodplains. Here, he shared the ecosystem with unique neighbors, from giant titanosaurs to river-dwelling plesiosaurs swimming inland from the ocean, carving out an evolutionary niche, entirely distinct from the apex predators of the northern hemisphere. Dr. Jose Bonaparte uncovers a near-complete skeleton. Locked within tough Cretaceous sandstone, the taphonomy reveals stunning preservation, capturing nearly every single bone in its original life position. Encased in plaster, this unique monolith begins its long journey to Buenos Aires, destined to change theropod paleontology forever. Upon arrival, it will be officially catalogued as holotype MACN-CH894, initiating a new era of dinosaur research. 1985. Within the laboratories of Buenos Aires, Dr. Jose Bonaparte officially names the holotype MACN-CH894 Carnotaurus sastrei, the meat-eating bull. Measuring just 60 centimeters in length, this remarkably short, deep skull presents a paradox, an extremely lightweight, yet lethal evolutionary weapon. The initial technical drawings document a cranium of unprecedented lightness, anchored by a highly robust cervical series, built to absorb heavy impact forces. These blueprints mark the first evidence of cranial kinesis, revealing a skull structure designed to expand and flex during feeding. The 1985 preliminary publications permanently etched this bizarre predator into global archives, forcing a complete recalibration of Gondwanan theropod evolution. This specific layout marked the genesis of a morphological revolution, proving that South America's prehistoric isolation had forged a radically distinct and terrifyingly efficient lineage of apex predators. With its bizarre cranial architecture permanently logged, the genuine holotypic skull is locked away deep within the Buenos Aires vaults. A silent, terrifying anomaly, well protected from the outside world. Here it will rest in pitch-black isolation, awaiting the comprehensive anatomical breakdown of the next decade. 1990. The academic silence is shattered, as the definitive anatomical monograph is finally unleashed upon the scientific world. 60 pages of exhaustive osteological blueprints, documenting every single bone of holotype MACN-CH894, and exposing a creature that defied all established laws of theropod evolution. The initial phase of description begins with rigorous, high-precision osteometry, transforming raw, ancient bone measurements into a massive digital matrix. Every trochanter, condyle, and cranial articulation is mathematically catalogued, establishing the precise baseline variables for future computer simulations. This structural ledger of holotype, MACN-CH894, would eventually become the fundamental database for the next generation of theropod biomechanics. The 1990 monograph isolates a bizarre cervical architecture, revealing highly elevated, wing-like transverse processes along the neck. This unique anatomy created a hyperrigid muscular anchor, a biological system designed to withstand extreme mechanical stress and high-velocity impact forces. By mapping these structural coordinates, Bonaparte and his team proved that Carnotaurus possessed an entirely distinct predatory mechanic, forever transforming our understanding of theropod functional morphology. The 1990 masterwork delivered a definitive evolutionary verdict, permanently etching this animal into the global archives of science. Bonaparte, Novas, and Coria prove that Carnotaurus was not a mere variation of known theropods, but the vanguard of an entirely distinct, highly advanced lineage. This structural blueprint redefined the limits of prehistoric morphology, locking its status as one of the most enigmatic predators to ever walk the earth. 1998. The research focus shifts from the terrifying skull to an absolute anatomical paradox: the forelimbs of holotype MACN-CH894. While this apex predator evolved into a massive, multi-ton killing machine, its arms underwent a severe, radical evolutionary reduction. This systematic downsizing left the limbs entirely vestigial, morphing into a biological puzzle that defied everything we knew about theropod functional anatomy. 2009. Finite element analysis exposes a shocking biomechanical contradiction: a multi-ton predator with a weak bite force. Chapter 1 is complete. Subscribe now to ensure you don't miss Part 2.